Hey everyone. So we've had a channel for about coming on a year now, and I've had several people comment about my home gym. I've had a few people ask if they could see different pieces of it, and then one person has asked if I would essentially do like a video on a gym tour. So that's exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to take you around my home gym, show you kind of all the stuff that I have. Some of it has some stories to it, which I think you guys might enjoy, and so I'll share some of those as we go. But a good starting point right now is right here at my bench press. I've had this bench press now for probably coming on 5 or 6 years. This is one, if I remember correctly, I either bought it at a Dick's Sporting Goods or an Academy or something like that. Very solid bench. I do remember getting frustrated building this one. At some point I had some sort of issue, but it's a quality bench that I have. I also have here a new toy I bought. This is a multi-grip Olympic barbell. I literally just got this thing yesterday, and I can tell you, I already love it. This morning, I did just a few reps on it just to get a feel for it. I say a few reps, more like a few sets. I did a few sets on it just to get a feel, and I can tell you, I already feel some fatigue in my chest. So this takes all of the weight off of your shoulders, keeps you in a good neutral grip, and puts the weight on the chest. So this is probably the most exciting toy that I have as of yesterday. And I'm super excited to see that it fits my bench press just fine. So from here, we move on up, and you'll see I've got a piece of art here, and I really like this thing. So what this is, for those of you who don't know, I was a pro wrestler for many, many years, took a good 15-year break, came back to it for a few years, and just got back after it. This is my logo, right? And so over the years of wrestling, one of the independent promotions we had a sign similar to this for their company that was made. I got the name of their contact, reached out to the guy and said, hey, if I send you the logo that I created, can you build me something similar? And he did. And I got to say, this is a pretty cool piece of artwork. You know, some people in their gyms, they have, beer signs or something like that. And in my case, I've got my logo from my wrestling days. But that's something I really enjoy. Up here to the left, you'll see there's another piece of artwork. It says canceled, and it has my logo in it. This is another thing that I really, really like. Reason being, as a bad guy wrestler, when I came back a few years ago, I was always walking around canceling people. It was the age of cancel culture. So I ripped that off and used that as part of my my gimmick, so to speak. And this sign this is actually a replica that was made. The promotion that I was wrestling at had one made. They used it for like a photo op with fans. And then eventually some guy, opponent, broke it over my back. Well, I went and had another one made because I liked it so much. And now we have it here in the gym. So this is another cool piece of art that I like. Before we get on to the rest of the art, I want to move down here to the floor. If you move down here to the floor, you'll see I've got a couple dumbbells, right? And these dumbbells are made so that they'll fit standard Olympic weight plates. I've had these for a lot of years. They're super reliable, super dependable. Now, don't get me wrong. It's better, of course, if you can have dumbbells that you can just pick straight off the shelf and go. But when you're working with a garage gym, you've got a limited amount of space. So this is something that I've got to use in order to be effective and have the space and still have what I need. But you'll see there's kind of a weird contraption that is connected to it. So I'm going to take it off and show you guys what this is. Another fun piece of cool equipment. What this is essentially like a hook system that allows me to place a dumbbell so that whenever I want to do, let's say, dumbbell bench press, I don't have to worry about picking dumbbells off the floor, putting them on my lap, pushing them up to my chest and then pressing. I take out the opportunity for risk with these right here. The dumbbells fit in. What you would do here on the bench press is you'd set up a standard, regular Olympic barbell, and you would simply hook those on both sides. And then once they're hooked on, you lay under the bench and you're good to go to do your presses. Could also do the same thing with shoulder presses. Talking about my squat rack over here, which we'll get to that in a minute. We're going to come back this way and we're going to keep going. Okay. If we keep going to the corner here, this is another cool little piece of art that I have. Again, all wrestling related. This is, something that since I was a kid, I always wanted to be a wrestler. And so I've got a few things going on here. To the left here, you'll see I've got a poster that's set up a lot like the Avengers posters. And I'm captured there in the middle, which I think is really cool. I remember when this was made, they put it up in the promotion, one of the main promotions I wrestled at. They put it up in one of the main promotions. I remember walking in and seeing it going, wow, that is a really cool poster. I want it. And for months and for months and for months, I was devising a plan for how I could break in and steal it without them knowing. And then just at the last minute, apparently they had given it to one of the wrestlers. That wrestler accepted it and said, you know what, this really belongs more to me than it did to him. And so he gifted it to me. So I didn't have to break in and steal it. I got the poster that I really wanted. I'm kidding. I wasn't going to steal it, but I really, really do like this poster. It's really, really cool. And I'm glad that I now get to have it and put it in my gym. So shout out and thank you to Tatum Manning for giving this to me. It's one of my favorite gifts, so I appreciate that. Coming back over here, what you'll also see we've got one of these digital picture frames. And what we've done is we've uploaded several different pictures from my time in wrestling so that throughout the day, this thing just stays on and it keeps rotating through memory after memory after memory. And it's pretty cool because I'll be in here working out and, you know, after between reps, I'll look over and I'll see something and I'll go, man, that was a cool moment. You know, I had a good time doing that. So being in here kind of locks in some memories while I'm working out, which sometimes, you know, even gives me some motivation. Moving down, you'll see I've got this display case here, which is, again, another cool piece of art that I have. And what you'll see, let me move over here, what you'll see are a few different things. You'll see I've got a title belt on the left here. This was the Lone Star heavyweight title. Wrestled for this promotion for, I think, 2 or 3 shows, which is typical in indie wrestling. A new promotion will start up. They'll have these big, grandiose ideas. They'll run 2 or 3 shows, and then they shut down because they realize it's too hard. They realize wrestlers are unreliable, or they realize it's hard to make money in that business. But anyways, I had won their title and became their champion. And then after their 2 or 3 shows, they never ran another show again. And after months and months and months of having this, I reached out to the promoter who was running the shows. He said, hey, what's the plan? Like, do you want this title belt back? And he essentially said, you know what? No, I may rebrand and do something else later. Just keep it. So I got a pretty cool little gift here. Over on the right, you'll see, again, there's a title belt, but this one has my logo in it. This was an idea my wife and I had, which was, you know, we've kind of tucked away all of our wrestling earnings and didn't have anything to do with it, and thought, you know what? Let's use that to make a cool memory. And so that's where we made my Aaron Eagle custom title belt. I actually have 2 of them. There's like a really long story that if anybody cares, one day I'll go into it, but I accidentally ended up with 2 of them. So one of them we put in this display case. The other one, if we ever go to shows to participate in character work, we set it up and we use that as display when we sell merchandise. So coming on back here, you'll see down here, I've got a couple different pictures. In 2022, when I returned to wrestling, I got awarded a Comeback of the Year award, which I thought was cool. On the right-hand side, I've got another, Player of the Week award, which is not a legitimate award. It was another wrestler was creating something to kind of be a joke and named me as the Player of the Week, and I jokingly framed it and did a video about it. And then in the middle here, let me go ahead and open this so you can see real well. I've got 2 cool trading cards. One of them on the right is simply my picture with my name. The one on the left, though, is a really cool one. What it essentially is a Pokemon card that we created for my wrestling character. And so on the front, it looks like a traditional Pokemon card. I'm the Pokemon or whatever. On the back, flip it, and instead of the Pokemon stuff, it's got my logo, but it's all colored as if it's Pokemon. So just kind of funny, kind of silly. It's a cool little trading card that we have, and I keep it here in the display. Moving all the way to the bottom, you'll see a few things here, which are another piece of art that I like. The left-hand side, those are my very first wrestling boots that I ever had. Back whenever I was, late teens, early 20s, I was in wrestling and started, and I had an individual who was very kind and gifted me wrestling boots. He had them made by somebody who at the time was kind of known for being like the guy when it comes to making wrestling boots, and he was in Houston, Texas. So took me down there, had some custom made. Those are the ones that I used to wear all the time. And then, of course, when I stopped wrestling for my first run, they now ended up here in the display. The right-hand side, those are the last wrestling boots that I wore all the way up until my last match before I got injured. So I've got the first wrestling boots. I've got the last wrestling boots, just kind of a cool little collection. And then in the middle, what you'll see these 2000s to 2005 puka shells, which were really popular around the time. A lot of preppy kids wore them. My first wrestling gimmick was kind of this preppy rich kid, and I used to wear those puka shells as to kind of get the character over. So those are the ones that I used to wear back in the day. Moving over more, if you move down here to the bottom, you'll see I've got a keg, because nothing says workout, get jacked like drinking beer at a moment's notice, right? No, I'm just kidding. Inside that keg is a lot of sand, okay? Making that keg weigh somewhere between 150 to 200 pounds. I haven't weighed it before, so I'm not exactly sure, but I know it's a lot. And this is what I would use to do circuit training or strongman training out in my yard or on the sidewalk with my kids. That's that. Now, that thing is out of commission now for me, for my kids. They can use it if they want, but given the nature of my injury, I'm not using that thing anymore. Okay, I'm not going to run the risk. So now it essentially is gym decoration unless my kids get strong enough to the point that they want to go ahead and try to start lifting it. So let's come on over to this next piece of equipment. What you'll see here, I've got a cable pulley machine. I mean, it's nothing fancy. It's actually kind of a lower end version of a cable pulley machine you can buy, but really it gets the job done. I can sit here, I can do lat pull downs. I can do face pulls. I can do curls from the bottom. I mean, there's a lot of different things you can do with this. I probably have in this machine alone, probably 20 different workouts I can do. So it's a great piece of equipment. It's really saved me in a pinch given my recent issue with my hurt neck and the surgery, because I can't do as many free weights until I'm really past a certain point. So this thing's getting a lot of use out of me right now. If you move over a little bit more, you'll see a couple things here. You'll see what looks to essentially what it is it's a weight plate organizer. I collected weight plates for a long time early on. My gym didn't just start off with all this equipment. I mean, 15 years ago or so, I remember I had a barbell, 2 25-pound plates, 2 10-pound plates, and like 4 5-pound plates. And that's all I had. And then little by little, getting a little bit here off of Craigslist, getting a little bit here off of like a marketplace or a friend, I'd get piece after piece after piece. And eventually I had all these weight plates and I was just stacking them on the floor. I really didn't have a great system for keeping them organized, and they're starting to take up a lot of room. So I bought this weight plate organizer, which came with a cool little barbell holder, and that's where I keep my curl bar. This thing's a lifesaver. Love having it. It's really not that expensive. I think I paid 30 or 40 bucks for it. Let's also talk about the sign. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't miss that. So what you'll see here is it says, please re-rack weights when done, courtesy management. And then there's a little thing in parentheses that says, Laura is exempt from this rule. So there's a reason that sign exists. You may be thinking like, why would you have a sign like that in your gym? Well, here's the deal. I love having my own personal gym because I don't have to worry about someone using the equipment and me having to wait for them to get done or not wiping it off or whatever. I don't have to put my own weights up. I can just leave them stacked where they are. And so that has been one of the greatest benefits of having my own gym. Now, problem is my wife started working out and she started working out a lot and she started getting in here and using this. And she would get frustrated because I would leave my heavy weight plates on the machines. And so she would ask me to clear them off and I wouldn't do it because I'm a man and it's my gym and I'm not going to clear weights if I don't want to clear weights. Well, she put a sign because she wants me to clear the weights. And so she considers herself management. I need to clear the weights. She does not follow the same rules she expects me to follow. And so in reality, I mean, it's just chaos in here. I mean, both of us are just leaving stuff everywhere. And I basically have a public gym again is what it is. I have a, not anyway. So it's just a funny little sign that my wife put up because she decided she thought I should put my stuff up, but she shouldn't. I don't know. I guess that's marriage, right? Come on down here. You'll see a stack of, looks like just junk. What these are sandbags. Got a 100-pound sandbag there. Got I'm going to be careful not to lift too much on these because of my neck. 50-pound sandbag there. And I've got a 50-pound weight vest here. These were really effective for my wrestling training. When I was getting back into it, one thing I knew is there's no cardio like getting into a wrestling ring and wrestling. Running doesn't do it, an elliptical doesn't do it, a bike doesn't do it. You got to actually get in there. But the closest thing that I found to wrestling cardio is picking up heavy sandbags and throwing them over and over and over and over. So that's why I have these. Now, with that being said, never thrown them again. Now that I've had the injury I have and I've been put on the shelf, these sandbags are now just here because my two of my kids actually like to use these for their workout. So these are here as long as they want to use them. I don't use them anymore, but they find benefit from it. So let's keep going. Over here, you'll see what I have here is I've got battle ropes. These battle ropes are a really good form of cardio. Obviously, if you know anything about battle ropes, you use your upper body, you use your arms. There's a couple different ways you can use them, but essentially they blow you up pretty quick. I'm a fan of them. The only problem I don't like is the amount of space I have, depending on what I'm working with and what I have pulled together. I may have to kind of reorganize things. So I wasn't a big fan of using them because it required a lot of setup, but they're here in case I want them. Given my neck injury, I'm not going to be using these anymore. They're essentially going to be here for the kids, or I'll hang them on a wall for decoration. Move over here, you'll see a giant tire with a Bosu ball in the middle. The Bosu ball, if you're familiar with that, I mean, surely if you're watching this, you have been to a gym and understand. Great for doing crunches. There's different type of yoga stuff you can do with this, different type of angles and balance and leverage for types of push-ups or shoulder work or whatever. That's what that's for. I'm not using it at this point given the injury, but it's there for whenever I get to the point that I'm recovered and I can start working on some of that core work again. But the giant tire was something that takes up a lot of space, but is really fun to use. If you go back and watch some of the older videos on the channel, you'll see there's a lot of videos of myself and my family working out. We would take this tire and some other pieces of these equipment and we'd flip it and we'd get the sledge and we'd hit it. And it was just, blew you up. It was really good. That's what we use this tire for. Honestly, this tire though is probably going to be sold here pretty soon and it's going to get out of here. I can't really use it anymore because of my injury. So I'd rather free up some real estate than having a giant tire sitting in here. So say goodbye to the tire. RIP, his days are numbered. Okay. Go up just a little bit more and you will see you got a screen. I mean, that's a screen. I think you all seen what a TV is and what it looks like. That's one. And honestly, when I say we, my wife and I, we get up at 4:15, 4:30, really for her, 4:45 in the mornings to work out. And that screen sometimes, whenever you're just kind of warming up or just kind of going through the motion or she's on her treadmill, it's nice to just kind of have the screen on and just, watch something while you're getting some of the reps in or whatever. Sometimes I turn that on, have something motivational on. Sometimes I turn on the news because I'm getting old and that's what you do when you get old, you watch the news. And then sometimes, my kids will be in here watching something while I work out. But that's a great piece to just kind of distract from just the monotonous lift after lift after lift that sometimes you feel. Coming on over here just a little bit more, you'll see on the wall, and this needs some reorganizing. You'll see on the wall, there's some more art, right? This is from my early days of wrestling. I started when I was 16 and then wrestled for about 7 years before I stopped and took my 15-year hiatus. What you'll see over here is you've got some pictures of the younger version of myself. If you want to get in real close, you can see right here, that's what I used to look like before I lost my hair and grew a beard and gained several pounds of muscle. That was me. So got some cool flyers from back in the day, got some cool memorabilia. You probably see there's a lint roller hanging on the wall up there, and you're thinking, why would this guy put a lint roller? There's actually a story. It's a character story for that I'm happy to share if anyone cares one day. I've got a couple awards from a promotion here in DFW that I used to wrestle at. One year I was the Wrestler of the Year. That was 2008. Another year I was a Tag Team of the Year. That was 2006. So that's cool little things for me to remember and kind of place in here. Again, this area kind of needs some reorganization, but gives you the idea of what I've got. Moving on down, you'll see table with a lot of stuff on it. This is kind of the gym catch-all. So you see a hat that says BL Fit Fam. That's us right there. You'll see some Tiki Torch fluid. That's because sometimes in the summer, mosquitoes will show up and that kind of helps keep them away. You see just kind of, there's pieces of attachment. There's a thigh trainer my wife got for Christmas that she'll probably never use and it'll just stay there. There's a lot of stuff here, right? But you get the idea. Moving over a little bit more, I've got a pegboard. Pegboard's great. Doesn't seem like a big deal until you don't have one and you've got a bunch of attachments. So You guys know if you've been in the gym, you need a lot of attachments, you need a lot of carabiners, you need a lot of different little pieces of things. And when you don't have a pegboard, it just ends up being laying around all over the place. You find yourself searching for it. So pegboard is a lifesaver. That's one. I got another one I'll show you here in a minute. But moving over, we also got one last poster. So this poster is again back from my early days of wrestling, back in 2009. This was a place here. Let's see, Tyler, Texas is where we were there. I went to that promotion for a period of about 6 months. They had Doink the Clown, who was probably a name you might recognize. They had Rory Fox, who maybe was a name you might recognize. And then a couple of my really good friends from the day, Robert Evans in the middle and the yellow and red, and then Matthew Palmer on the bottom left. Shout out to both those guys, really good friends. They've done a lot for me over the years. And then you got me in the top left corner back whenever I looked young. So that gives you an idea. So let's keep moving on this way. If you move to the floor here, you'll see I got a trap bar. Prior to my multi-grip Olympic barbell, this is probably the newest addition before that. Strap bar is great. You know, it allows me to do some deadlifts. It allows me to do some shrugs. It's just, you know, it's got a different angle than a barbell does. It gives you a nice neutral grip. This is a cool piece of equipment. I like it. But it's kind of bulky. And right now, because of my neck, I don't really get to use it a whole lot, but it's there. And let's keep moving. Now, I said the trap bar was my newest piece of equipment, and I'm realizing I'm a liar. I'm a liar. That's not the case. This actually is the newest piece of equipment. Although, as you look at it, you'll see it's kind of rusty and beat down and doesn't seem like it's a new piece of equipment, but it is, right? And what you got here is you got a preacher curl station or a preacher curl bench. I just got this, I want to say 2 or 3 weeks ago. I've been looking for one for about a year now, but every time I would go online and look for one, even old ones were going for like $200-$300. And I just couldn't bring myself to part with that much money for a piece of equipment that you can't get too many exercises out of. There's really only a few different exercises this will give you. And so I always said, I'm not going to buy one unless I can find one that's a really good deal. I found this one. I think I paid $40 for it. The pad here, I had to do some work here because this piece of it, there's a piece of wood behind it that was cracked, and so it was broken. So I had to bring it home, take the covering off, take the padding off, put a new board in there, reattach all of that. Now it's good to go, good as new. I haven't used it yet. A lot of that's because of my injury. I just want to make sure before I do anything with that I'm physically ready and I'm not going to find myself in a tough spot. But that is actually the newest piece of equipment before my multi-grip Olympic barbell. If you turn around that I showed you earlier, sitting on my bench press. So that's the newest addition to the family. That's a baby barbell. And then here's his older brother, preacher curl bar. And then their older brother, trap bar. That's probably the correct order. All right, keep moving over here. And all this is a standard bench, right? I mean, it can do incline, it can do flat, and it can do, I think it does, decline. This bench is great because it's really light. I mean, all in all, I think it's like 10 pounds. I mean, I don't know how you can engineer something. I mean, modern day science is great. How do you engineer something that's maybe 10 pounds total to hold somebody like myself, 240 pounds now, plus whatever weight I put on top of it, whether it's, up to 100, 150. I don't know how you hold it, but it works and it's great. Company name is Loosper. I'd never heard of them. I believe that was an Amazon purchase, but it's great because I can move it all over the place anywhere I want. Moving over here. Now this is the piece of equipment that means the most to me. I mean, if there's one piece of equipment that gets a lot of use in here, it's a treadmill. I mean, I'm the kind of guy where why use a sidewalk that's endless and can go on and on and on when I can have a rotating sidewalk that keeps me in the same spot? I'm being very sarcastic because this is not my favorite piece of equipment. This little section does not get used by me at all. This is essentially where the wife lives when she comes to work out in the gym every morning too. This is her thing. My daughter uses it. My son uses it. My younger son and my younger daughter want to use it, but we won't let them because they are not trustworthy. If you look back here, you'll see that there's been some damage to this wall. That used to be a hole. And that's a hole that exists because the kids have been on here and they will race this thing as fast as they can go and they slip and they hit the wall and put a hole in it. That has been repaired twice now. I love spending money on things that that break when the kids use it or abuse it. So that's been replaced twice. And logically, I think we should move this out of this space because I see it happening a third time. But my wife insists it will never happen, ever, ever, ever. It will never happen another hole in that exact same spot. So, I mean, why learn from mistakes when we can just repeat them? That's what I say, right? But anyways, that's the story here. Here's the other pegboard I was talking about. Again, lifesaver. If you don't have them, they're great. And around this pegboard, this is essentially the newer wrestling memories, right? This is the newer photos that were taken after I came back to wrestling. So what we showed you earlier was a lot of the old stuff. This is a lot of the new stuff. It shows all the different years that I've been involved. And I want to say it was 3 years that I was involved when I came back. Again, all that's done now. I'm not wrestling because of my injury. But I've got some great memories that I can come and I can look at. If you move over just to the left here, what I was going for was a bunch of random kind of action moments. Moving over to the left here, you have kind of more flyers, more wrestling flyers that I was on for shows that I participated in. So that's what that is. You move down here, you'll see I've got a mini fridge. Someone gave that to me and I thought, you know what, that'll be a great addition. I can see myself just cracking open a Gatorade or something or water. That doesn't happen. It just sits there. In fact, my kid who sells cocoa has some whipped cream in there that's probably about to go bad. It doesn't get used by us. It probably needs to be repurposed somewhere else at some point. On top of it, you may have seen there's a device there that has these little flashy lights. It actually makes a lot of noise and gets really loud whenever we're not in here. What that is a device that is supposed to scare rodents away, right? So we live in an area of Fort Worth that is developing. So they're tearing down they're clearing a bunch of fields, they're building a lot of houses. Well, every time they do that, it displaces all the field mice. And the field mice try to come find any spot that's warm. And we've made this garage gym pretty warm. If you flip the camera around, you'll see our garage doors are purple. They are not purple because we just like, Barney and Friends. They're purple because that's actually insulation that keeps the warmth or the cool in, depending on what we've set the garage up to be. So what ends up happening is because this is a garage, mice can fit through little cracks. And if it's warm in here, they try to come in here. That machine, the noise and the light flashing detracts them and just keeps them out of here. So that's what that machine is. There's also a portable heater. There is a couple of dumbbells my wife typically uses, or me if I'm really, on the beginning stages of that injury. And then we've got a speaker that we can play music on. So that's kind of what all that is. I need to kind of clean this area a little better. I got a lot of cords and stuff laying around, but that's what that is. Move over just a little bit here and you'll see I've got a, what do they call this? It's not just a regular bike. It's like a war bike. I can't remember the terminology, but essentially this is a bike that's supposed to work the legs and work the arms. I bought this again to kind of help me with my wrestling cardio, and it was effective and it was good. The only thing is, your butt starts to hurt when you weigh a lot like I do. So I put an additional padded seat on there to help me out. I don't use it anymore. Again, I'm not going to wrestle anymore. I don't need my cardio to be, optimal. I hate cardio. So this thing, say goodbye, RIP. This one's going to be going away just like that giant tire I talked about a minute ago as well. Move over just a little bit and I've got a punching bag. This punching bag, most people, when they have punching bags, they use those to punch the bag, right? Or I don't actually think it's called a punching bag because it's not a speed bag. It's just, I don't know, but you're supposed to punch it. I don't do that. I used it so that I could try to punch without actually hitting it, but make it look like I was hitting it. Because again, I was involved in pro wrestling. For those of you who don't know, it's a work. All right. Don't tell anybody, but I would try to hit it without actually hitting it so that, when I go back into the ring and I compete, my punches look like they land without really landing. So that was what that's there for. I was going to get rid of it, but the kids like it, especially one of my older boys. He likes it. He likes to come out here when he's mad and punch it around. So it'll stay. And then over here, you have a piece of equipment I like to use a lot. It is the squat rack. It's like a nice old school steel squat rack. It has a lot of life. So when I got it, it had already been used quite a bit. You could tell. The person I bought it for, I think I met them on Craigslist. Their daughter was a power lifter, so she used this a lot to, of course, train for her competitions. I think her dad used to be really into fitness for a long time. But anyways, got it from them. It's really kind of an uncomfortable situation when I got this. So I remember pulling up to the house. The dad came out and was like, yeah, this is me. This is my wife. Let me open the garage and I'll show you the squat rack you want to buy. He opened the garage and I have wrestling pictures all over the wall. He had porn all over the wall. Really, really weird. And even more weird because his daughter would train in there every day. And that was what was plastered everywhere, just pornography. And I'm not talking like swimsuit edition stuff. I'm talking everything showing. So really strange family, but I got this really cool squat rack. So I really enjoy it. It's got safety rails. I can obviously move the level, the height that I want it to. So pretty cool thing. I also, if you come this way and look behind the squat rack, I've got a kettlebell back there that I can adjust the weight to. It allows me to use Olympic weight plates to add to that kettlebell. So I don't have to have, a whole row of kettlebells or a whole different, a 10, a 20, 15, whatever. I can have the one and change the weight as I need. Now, again, that can be a little inconvenient having to change them out, but when you're working with limited space, you gotta work with what you got. So that's what I use for that. Come on over here, and it becomes less and less exciting. I got myself a scale, which tells me how much I weigh. I'm at 240 now. This is actually the most I've ever weighed. So I'm happy with that. Up here, I've got just some towels that I use for the gym. I've got some attachments. I've got something to protect my neck if I can ever do squats again. Moving down here, we have the deep freezer. I hate this thing being in here. I'm not going to lie. When my wife and I bought this house, we had a deal. All right. And the deal was I get the garage and she gets everything else. Right. And so nothing gets to live in here except for the gym. The cars don't get to live in here because cars are machines. They don't get to live in the house like people. They can stay outside where they belong. Right. So the cars don't get to live in here. Storage doesn't get to live in here. Just the gym gets to live in here. But this thing, unfortunately, it's the only thing that got a pass. And it's because where are you going to put the deep freezer? There's really no other options. It doesn't make sense. Maybe at some point in the shed in the back, I can hook up some electricity, get this guy out of here because he does not belong. But it's where he gets to be. So Mr. Freeze sticks around right here in the corner, stays out of the way. I did some incline push-ups on him just to make him feel like he was a piece of gym equipment, and he felt like he belonged, but he does not. Okay. And then we move over here. Ignore all of the, house utility equipment. Over here, I just got a hook on the wall. This is where I connect all of our bands. Been getting a lot of band use lately because of my injury. But just kind of logically made sense for it to go there. And then over here on the door, you're probably thinking what is that? He's got a lot of paperwork. I sure do. What this is essentially my wife and I are very motivated to get the mortgage paid off as soon as possible. We want to be free from that. So we're putting a lot of attention to it. What I got here is essentially little squares. Every square represents another $75 paid off of the mortgage. So every time we pay off another $75, you blank it out. And obviously you want this whole thing blanked. Got some ways to go. Okay. So if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't hit the like button, share it with your friends. If you want to help us monetize so that we can pay off our mortgage, we'll love you. We'll think you're great. So please help us with that. And then right here, you see we got ourselves a tripod. This helps us to shoot some of our videos, gives us a chance to try to get some content out to you guys. Hopefully some stuff you like.
That'll be RIP soon too.
This will be RIP. Yeah, it's kind of old and it's cheap and we need to get a better one. So that will happen. And then down here, I've got my my Ninja Blender base. The reason it's out here is this sucker is loud. I mean, it is really, really loud. And every morning when I had to make a shake, and I make 7 a day or something, I was always worried I'd wake the kids up because that thing just roars through the house. So I put it out here where it can shut up and not bother everybody. And that's where it lives. So just as kind of a review, we're going to kind of get a spin around view. This is my gym. A lot of people have asked me what it looks like. And this is it. This is my favorite spot in the house. I come out here every single morning and put some reps in, put some time in. I really like it. I've always wanted to have one of these, and it's cool to finally have this thing that I've dreamed about for a long time. And so it will change. We'll add some things. We'll take some things out. At some point, I'd love the walls just to be filled with all the memorabilia and art. That stuff takes time, but that's where we're going. So for those of you who are asking, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any other questions or things you want to see or whatever, don't hesitate to ask. I'd love to show you. If you haven't hit subscribe, do it. Hit the like button, comment, share this with your friends. But thank you guys. There's, I think at this point, 328 people who are following us, which I know on YouTube numbers, like that's nothing. That means nothing. But to me, to my wife, it actually means everything. That means there's 320 something people out there who enjoy what we put out. So thank you for that. It means a lot. We'll catch you next time.